Hey everyone, today for another vlog, and today I want to talk about the pressure from trying to be your higher self, so like your ideal self. So lately, but really it has been the thing for the past months, but I didn't really formulate it explicitly for myself. I've been feeling a lot of pressure because I feel like I'm not working hard enough, not being productive, not working hard enough on myself to move towards where I want to be in life, which is like something which is more like financially independent, more doing something I enjoy as my main way of earning money, for example, as opposed to my job, which is not very fulfilling. Building community, finding friends and creating stuff and working on projects and all that. And it feels like I there's this feeling like I'm not doing enough towards those things, right? And on one hand, intellectually, I know that I simply need rest, and I simply need after like all this work that I had to do in school and all that, which kind of led to a burnout, and I simply need rest, right, to like reset and to feel better in my body, especially because my whole life has been one very, very coercive towards myself, like very pushing. I had a very not a very healthy relationship towards myself. It was mostly about pushing myself to do things, rather than like trying to understand myself and work with myself, and which could lead to like lasting change. Instead, it was mostly like coercive. It feels like, although amidst all that, I also learned to like establish habits, right, which were very useful because they didn't feel like require coercion to be fueled. Like habits were just fueled by the power of inertia and all that, and that was really useful. It feels to me like my main source of motivation up until now has mainly been coercion, and I think it has led to a lot of burnout and stress and tiredness. And I kind of want to like switch fuel, so to speak, or like I want a cleaner, less coercive source of motivation. And I think what I haven't internalized in my body, maybe even intellectually, I haven't internalized completely, is that switching this fuel is it takes time, and it's in the short term it doesn't lead to results, right? So eh, it's very unrealistic for me to just keep doing the same and have the same pace as I could have in the past, while also like being kinder to myself in the short term. In the long term, I think it's far more effective, which is why I'm doing it, right? But in the short term, it's maybe not as maybe not as useful. So it's kind of a general dilemma I find in life. Is like you have this local optima, and like the longer term solution to reach a higher optimum, right? Like a more global optimum than the local optimum you're trying to go for. It requires you to like do things that are worse in the short term, but that in the long term are better off. So it's this short term, long term trade off, right? Which is not always true. Sometimes the two things are aligned. Like sometimes the thing that is good for the long term is also good for the short term. But in many situations, I find that the two are kind of at odds with one another. That if you want to like go for the local optimum, which is to say, do what's easy or do what's good in the short term and so on, like do what brings you the most results in the short term, or could be another form of that. Well, you also are missing on potentially better things in the long term, right? But at the same time, the short term does matter, right? So, if you keep investing for the future and you never like enjoy the things that you invest for, it's kind of pointless, right? Like, in other words, if you keep working for a better future, but you never like just chill with people and relax and enjoy yourself and reap the benefits of that, then like what are you investing for? It like it feels like you're just delaying your life. But obviously, it's important to think about the future and all that, right? So yeah, so I feel like this it really isn't like an obsession with superiority, I would say. Um, this obsession with superiority and like chasing my higher self has kind of been helpful in the past, maybe even needed. But I feel like now it's kind of harming my quality of life because I find it very difficult to just rest and just do things that I can enjoy. But a lot of the times I find myself paralyzed at the decision of like what to do, because it feels like there's this internal dialogue in me which is like, oh, this is a waste of time, or like I don't really enjoy it that much really, when I don't even know if that's the case, or yeah, just this voice of like this feels like a waste of time is it's very paralyzing, I find, because it just makes me wonder like, okay, maybe this is a waste of time, but like then what? Then what am I going to do? It's not like I want to work right now. I just want to relax these days, but yeah, it's kind of conflicted. And another form of conflict is like wanting to be like to be with people, to find community, but the best solution I've found so far to find people is on Twitter, which I think is great. But on the other hand, what I don't like about Twitter is that, well, one, there's a lot of like negative doomer, doomer mood type of discussions where people were just very pessimistic about society and life. And it's not so much the people that I follow, but it's more like the conversations that they engage in. And I'm not a fan of that. And the second thing I don't like about Twitter is that it triggers my guilt of not working towards much right now, because I need rest and all that, as described before. And yeah, it really triggers this guilt because people are they talk about so much, and it's like you get this impression when you're on social media that everyone is just doing a fuck ton of things at the same time, which is not true. It's an illusion, but my my body doesn't really get that, and I only understand that intellectually, so my body still like gets triggered and into like a feeling of guilt and all that. So yeah, it's something I don't enjoy about Twitter, because I really just don't want to hear people talking about like, oh, what to do to improve your life, or people talking about like how to work on projects and all, like, and the project they've been working on. Like, I just don't want to hear anything about work or this kind of things right now. And maybe there's something to be said about how maybe I'm the one creating all that with my like distinction in my mind between what's work and what's not work. Like maybe it's because I'm so afraid. Maybe afraid is not the right word, but like maybe I'm so like bent on like distancing myself from work that I label things as work even when they're not necessarily, and I have like this negative connotation around work because I don't enjoy my job, for example. So maybe there's a way in which I'm kind of creating all of this guilt and all that because I'm using the word work, as something I should do, but I don't enjoy it, rather than something which should be more positive. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I kind of feel stuck right now, but not really. Like I feel like I've been getting better at not getting 100% stuck in life. And these days, it feels more like I'm getting, like 70% stuck. So I'm able to like feel better in my body, for example, which is always helpful. Like if you feel good in your body, then you can make better decisions and all that. So it's always helpful. And yeah, but I still feel stuck like on what to do. But at least I feel better like in my body. Like I'm not freaking out or anything. I'm doing breathing exercises and I'm stretching and all that, and it feels a lot better than in the past where I would just be stuck on what to do and I would just feel awful in my body and very disconnected from the present moment and frantically searching for solutions when the most sensible thing to do in the moment would be just chill, right, and to not freak out, because freaking out is it's almost never helpful for solving problems, right? Like freaking out is helpful for like running away from a bear. That's very that can save your life, so it's useful, right? But most problems in life are not about running away from a bear these days. Most problems in life they require a longer term vision and practices and habits that can build towards that vision on a day-to-day basis. So it requires a more long-term oriented vision and more just better decision making than just what the decision making that comes from freaking out. So yeah, so I feel like I've been getting better at getting unstuck, so to speak, but I still feel kind of stuck. In the sense that like I don't really seem to allow myself to just have fun, and I don't even know what fun, as sad as it might sound, I don't even know what like fun even feels like. Like I don't even know what to go for to have fun these days, you know. So it's the thing about, you know, in the past I would spend most of my time like on the internet or video games. But it feels to me nowadays that these things are just they just feel like waste of time, you know. But maybe I should allow myself to waste time, like a few hours, so that I don't just I don't know, it's hard to say. Maybe yeah. Maybe I really should just allow myself to waste time for a few hours. It honestly feels like the most interesting path to take, like interesting experiment to do right now rather than always doing the same thing I've been doing lately. And yeah, it reminds me of a video title I saw about, you know, the title was like, "We waste years by not being able to waste hours." It was a vlog by this. I didn't even watch it. I don't even know what it's about, but I feel like it's kind of relevant to the current predicament I find myself in, which is, you know, trying to be too optimal with my time, which leads to like burnout, which leads to actually wasting more time than if I just fucking chilled. But yeah, yeah, I definitely notice how I'm a lot better at not getting stuck. Like it feels like when I get stuck these days, I just get stuck for like a weekend, you know, rather than like entire weeks where I just do nothing. And actually, before it was months, really. Like I remember my in my last year of high school, so I was 17 at that time. So there was like a work that you need to hand in, which was like, let's say 30 pages. You know, it was like a written work of it was kind of like a thesis, but like, you know, very mini version of it. And it was you had it started on the beginning of the year, and you had to hand it in like April or something. And my God, I did such a bad job at that because I basically procrastinated so much. But what I was so bad at doing it was having some type of like weekly review of what I was doing, right? Like having some kind of mechanism to review what I was doing so as to not be paralyzed. And instead, what happened was that I didn't have that mechanism because I didn't understand how to work on long projects. And so I was just paralyzed every time I would walk in front of the keyboard to type things, because I did try several times to write the thing before it got too late. Right? It's not like I wanted to procrastinate. I wanted to kind of work on the keyboard on the project, but the thing is that I got so paralyzed because I didn't know what to write, and I had this like newbie writer paralysis, which you might relate with, which is like, you know, you're trying to write something, but you feel like it's not good enough, and as a result, you don't write anything, which is a really awful mistake. Right? And nowadays I know better. I just write something and I improve it later on. But I didn't know about those things, and yeah, I think this was a very clear case of how often I would get stuck when I was younger, and it feels like it's getting better, but it's no, it's not like ideal, but like I still get fairly stuck. And I think one big reason why I get stuck a lot in life is because I simply don't have like friends around me who I can talk with about my life, and so I kind of have to like kind of figure out everything from just like reading and watching people rather than, you know, being around people who can listen to me. But those vlogs have been especially useful, right? Like journaling was probably my biggest improvement in that regards. It helps a lot with not with getting unstuck. But I think there's something to be said about how speaking is far more powerful because it feels more like authentic in the moment, like you're just speaking your mind rather than being calculated about what you're writing. I mean, the thing about journaling is that it's quite no, it's not like super calculated, right? Like the whole point is that you just write what you think, what you feel right now, rather than like what you want to say. So, but I don't know, I feel like there's something even more spontaneous about the voice that is not uh, conveyed well with words, in my opinion. Or maybe it's just because I'm bad at writing, I don't know. So yeah, I don't think I have really much to add. I mean, I just so I think what I'm going to try in the next weeks is to just allow myself to waste hours so that I don't waste months and years in this state of like super tiredness and all that. So yeah, and I think the next quarter of my life, so I decided to like go for like 3 month period for these vlogs and in general my life, and so I want to align those to the seasons. So it's gonna start in April. Let me think. January, February, March. Yeah. So this one will end in March rather than February, so that the next one can be 3 months. And the next one will be about. It will either be about making friends or about energy, because yeah, I'm really fucking tired these days, and I want to spend months on just working on that alone. That feels quite important. So that will come later. But yeah. Thank you for watching or listening rather, and I'll see you next time.